welcome, Lynn. You and I had a phone conversation here. I guess it was yesterday.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you had emailed me because you were stuck on a certain issue regarding EFT, how to use EFT to get further, and so on.
Yes.
And we're going to deal with that. Um, if I understand it correctly, you had a very traumatic event at age 2,
That's right.
which has had impact on you all these years.
hmm
Okay. Why don't you, if you will, tell us about that event and how that's impacted you and what you would like help on.
Okay. Well, it's my first memory, and from what I hear, to even remember anything at age 2 in such detail is pretty amazing. So that's what makes me realize it was a very significant. It was the furthest back event, because you're
Yeah.
always saying go as far back as you can in your memory to the very first event. And I remember being awakened. To me, it felt like the middle of the night. I don't know what time it was. To just the sounds of yelling and then screaming. And then there must have been something that made me jump out of bed, me and my older sister. She was 2 years older. And we ran to the kitchen, and I just remember standing in the doorway, and my dad was choking my mom. I mean, just had his hands around her neck and was
Yeah.
was choking her. And I remember the way the Lenore.
Well, uh, the video just cut out there for 1 second.
Sorry.
That's just Skype for us. But a moment ago, when you said you saw your mother choking your father,
My
did you
father
get?
choking my mother. My dad was choking my mom.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I don't even know how I said that, but yes.
Okay.
Um, did you have any spike emotionally about that when you were
No,
just
I've
now?
worked I've worked on that tapping. I mean, for years I've worked on that. I even had one day I set aside an entire day to do a full 8 hours of just tapping on that one incident. And I really feel like I mean, it used to be something I could barely discuss, and now I'm able
Yeah,
to talk
okay.
about it. Yeah.
Well, interestingly enough, as you may know, when I talk with people, I have this little intuitive thermometer goes up and down in my head. Okay, and I have you at some number on that. It's not a big 10. It's more like 3-ish, 4-ish. Um, that doesn't mean I'm right. I'm just pointing that out to you. Okay,
Okay. Okay.
sometimes, I mean, you may have cleared it out beautifully. Sometimes we think we have. That's been my experience, and there's remnants kicking around and so on. But at any rate, so you've done a lot of work on this. You can now talk about it freely, and so
hmm
on. Okay.
hmm
Um, all right. So but you still need some assistance on this. Something is left over that we talked about on the phone. So tell us about that.
It feels like from that point on, if it was possible to shatter from the inside out, that I just broke into a million different pieces.
Uh-huh.
Now, they would call that, I guess, post-traumatic stress disorder, in those days.
Yes.
they
Yeah.
they probably, they wouldn't have probably called it that, but much later that was the diagnosis I received, that was post-traumatic stress disorder. I believed the belief system that was set up from that point forward was so dysfunctional and so warped, and yet I believed it and believed it for years. And I feel like because it was during that really developmental stage, I mean, they say from 2 to 7 is the most important personality and developmental stage for your brain.
Yeah.
And I just feel like certain things were just never put in there. We're never allowed to grow and to be put there, and I will never be able to get back those parts that were missing. EFT, in other words, can take down the levels of trauma and the feelings around the situation and the experience and exactly what happened. But I feel stuck in that. How do I get what I never had? Is it innately in a person and I just haven't found the way to bring it out? Or is it something that I just missed and I have no way to bring it back?
Okay. We need clarification here, I think.
Okay.
Early on in your description there, you were talking about a belief of some kind, and I don't know what that
Right.
belief was. Uh, Tell me what that belief was, and then we'll go from there.
There are several. I believed that my father wanted us all dead, and I believed that through my entire childhood and early adolescence. And I believe that has, I used to dream, have nightmares about it. I mean, I thought the greatest gift I could give him was to die. And
Ah,
in not dying, I was not expressing love. Love became something warped into pain and very intricately wound up with dying and death. I felt like at that point, I became responsible for my mother's life. But then my father wanted us all dead, so I thought I need to take all that on me and somehow figure out a way to work that out.
okay,
It's
okay,
never left me.
yeah. So you got emotion about it now, right?
Yeah, there's a
Okay.
little bit.
Well, it's no more than a little bit. It's more than a little bit. Okay. And it's good to talk about it sometimes because sometimes when you talk about it, you tell the story, if you will. Some of this stuff starts showing up that wasn't so clear and wasn't so obvious and so on top
Right, right.
as it might have been. But it's my goal here to give you avenues to pursue about this. Now, one of the things I heard, but I need to check this out with you. And as a background, when we talked yesterday, you were telling me that you had a very difficult time loving.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yes.
And, but then I asked you if you had any dogs, and you said yes, you had three.
Hmm.
And I said, what would happen if one of your dogs died? And of course, it would be very heavy for you. And indeed, that's an indication you do love your dogs.
Hmm.
Okay. So that's a clue that you can love.
Right, right,
Okay.
right.
The issue seems to be we have difficulty loving people.
Right.
Does that land?
That does, and after we spoke yesterday and I thought about it, I realized that perhaps even greater is that I can't feel anybody's love towards me. Because I
Oh,
thought I love my dogs, but you know what? I don't feel. That's what doesn't land. No amount of anything anybody could ever say to me could convince me that I can feel love towards myself.
okay. I want to
So
do it. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, I was going to say it's kind of both. It's kind of it's sort of both. It's all around.
Okay. Well, we want to start opening doors and see which doors might be useful for you to use EFT on in the future. But what I'd like to do at this point is just explore a little bit, and I'd like to do a little bit of testing with you. This is a testing method we call "Say This." Okay, it's in our tutorial and all of that. But what I'd like to have you do, Lynn, is just say a. I'm going to give you a sentence in a minute, and just say the sentence. But when you say it, evaluate how true this sentence feels to you. Not how logically true or false it may be. How does it
Okay.
feel
Yes.
emotionally? Okay.
Hmm.
And here's the sentence: it isn't safe to love.
It isn't safe to love.
On a scale of 0 to 10.
Yeah, that's probably about an 8.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
That's what I was presuming. So logically, let me ask you, emotionally, that was your response. Okay.
Right. Right.
And of course, emotions are what we deal with now. But let me also ask you, logically, is it true that it's not safe to love?
There's a yeah that 2-year-old illogical 2-year-old way of thinking that I feel stuck in.
Okay.
Exactly. It isn't. Yes. It
Okay.
logically it isn't safe.
Okay. Okay. Good. Thank you. And that's very helpful. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay. No, that's it.
Okay.
Yeah, to the 2-year-old that's stuck in me. I don't think it is logically even. It's not safe.
Okay. To the 2-year-old, it's not safe.
Right. Right.
Let's get to the more mature
Okay.
you. Okay. And
Okay.
let's take you, if we can, and put you up on a cloud someplace where you're looking back and you're seeing not your circumstances, but other people's circumstances where love seems to work. Do, do you have such
Yeah.
experiences?
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
do.
you knew other people where love seems to work. Where,
Yes.
I don't want to put words in your mouth, but for this purpose of discussion, it's for other people. It is safe to love.
Yes. Yes.
Logically,
Yes.
for other people, not for you
Right.
emotionally, but for other people.
Right.
It's safe. Okay,
Yes.
that's an important distinction. That's a very important distinction because if even at that level, logically, it just wasn't safe to love, we've got a whole different set of doors to go in. But but we now know that logically it's safe to love. Our emotional response, for reasons we can understand, is different. The 2-year old is still saying it's not safe to love. Now, I don't want to put words in your mouth. I want respond to that with me, if you will. Tell me how that lands or not lands, or what else comes up, or whatever.
Yeah. Very much so. I mean, I know the mature adult in me logically knows that on some level, love is all there is. I mean, that really lasts and matters. And I just wish the barriers, it's like, love hits this wall. And for me,
Yeah.
can't get beyond that.
Well, sure,
Whether
but
it's coming or going, it doesn't
yeah,
matter which direction it's coming, it hits.
yeah. So here you are, still playing the 2-year old, and we all do this kind of thing, by the way. We still replay our past in lots of different ways, you know. But here you are doing that, and your exposure to people who are supposed to love, that is your mother and your father. Here you're seeing the exact opposite. Makes a big impact, a big thud. It embeds big time. Okay, and you evaluate that in a way that it's not safe for you to be loved because I think you said earlier you were afraid your father was going to kill you all.
Yeah.
Didn't you say that to me?
Yeah, that's what he wanted.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
what he wanted.
That
Yeah.
was your belief at that point. Okay. Is it still your belief?
Oh, no. That I know is not true.
Okay. Is he still living?
No, he's deceased.
Oh,
But
okay.
he was mentally ill and an alcoholic. He had a lot of problems throughout
Okay.
his life.
So what's understandable here is here you are 2 years old. At least you're replaying the 2-year old. We all do that kind of thing. And you see your mother, excuse me, your father choking your mother. These are people who are supposed to love. And you also got the impression from that the belief from that your father was going to, or wanted the whole family dead, including you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's not what you call loving at all. That's the exact opposite. That brings in fear. So I'm going to make a thing or two up here, and you tell me if we're on target or not. So I'm little Lynn, and I'm saying to myself, I dare not love. If you try to love, something like this happens. There's danger. I'm going to die if I love. It may be a
Yeah.
little bit illogical, but 2-year-olds put things together that way.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, the 2-year-old did. Absolutely. That love and death and that danger in between, they were so connected. So
Ah, okay. See, now we have another avenue. See, it's one thing to use EFT and do it thoroughly as you've done, that is persistently over time.
right.
But sometimes we can't really see the really deep one or the deep ones. We take care of a lot of the surface stuff, and it's very helpful because you can talk about everything else. But you've got a leftover thing here, okay? And I,
My little
I now know you have 3 dogs. I'll tell you, let me get you a little start. Do a little tapping with me just to get you oriented a little bit, because I want to do a little bit on this link between love and death. But now let me ask you something else first. Put yourself back in the 2-year-old shoes watching this event and see if you can't pick out a part of it. Maybe the look on your mother's face, maybe some sounds, maybe some postures, maybe anything that says to you, "Oh my God, I'm going to die," or something like that. Can you do that?
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
can.
Yeah,
Okay.
the look on my mother's face.
The look on your mother. Have you tapped on the look on your mother's face yet?
I don't think I did.
All
I've
right.
done a lot with my dad, but yeah, probably not so much with
Okay.
that look.
Okay. Now I am supposing. Just a minute. I got to do something here. Okay. I am supposing that look on your mother's face um, communicated to you that it's not safe to love in some fashion.
Right.
Would I be right?
Yeah, it's possible.
I,
Yeah.
maybe not the bullseye, but I'm on the target anyway. But would that be
Yeah.
correct? Okay. All right. Tap with me just to get started here. Tap with me for a moment, if you would,
Okay.
and say, even though I'm looking at that look on my mother's face. Wait,
E-
I got to stop here a second.
Okay.
Um, close your eyes for me for a moment. Be the 2-year-old. Look at your mother's face. Get really into it and tell me on a scale of 0 to 10, how intense might you be now?
Maybe a 5
Okay, can you feel it in your body someplace?
right here. Yeah.
Constriction? What?
Heaviness.
A
Heavy.
heaviness.
Heavy.
Okay. All right. Tap right here for me. Okay. Even though I'm looking at my mother's face
Even though I'm looking at my mother's face
and I'm a 2-year-old
and I'm a 2-year-old
and I'm interpreting this as love and death are connected.
and I'm interpreting this as love and death are connected
And perhaps logical to me then.
and perhaps logical to me then.
Indeed, logical to me then.
Indeed, logical to me then.
I deeply and completely accept myself.
I deeply and completely accept myself.
I was only 2.
I was only 2.
Okay. And then tap up here and say that look on my mother's face.
That look on my mother's face.
Did you call her mother or mom?
Mom.
Okay. That
Mommy.
look on mommy's face.
That look on mommy's face.
All right, keep going.
That look on mommy's face. 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 That look on mommy's face.
All right. All right, this is a test. Close your eyes. Go back into that for the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And see, are you still a 5?
No. No.
What's the chest thing? Still a 5?
No, that feels gone. That feels
Oh, it
gone.
feels gone. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I
It's
doubt.
gone, actually. It's gone.
Okay, I doubt seriously if just that one round would take something that deep, okay, and vanish it. Now it's possible, but if you would, say this for me. Uh, it is not safe to love.
It is not safe to love.
And tell me how that feels on a scale of 0 to 10.
Still in a 7 range. I mean, it's probably
Okay.
up there still. Yeah.
Okay, see, now that's a clue. That's a clue that what we just did something. Okay? Now, what I'm going to suggest that you do here is do some more rounds on the look on mommy's face. But then as you get into it, start assessing your own reaction to it. You may have had fear about that. You may have had sadness about that. You might have even had some guilt about that. Maybe 2-year-olds do this kind of thing. Maybe you caused it in some fashion.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
yeah, that resonates. That resonates pretty severely. Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. All right. All right, do it. Here. All we're going to do is take the edge off this, okay? Just keep going. Keep going.
Yeah, that was a big one.
A little.
Okay, so yeah, in my egocentric world, I thought I was responsible for all of it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Is that a logical conclusion?
For a 2-year-old, yes. For me, of course not.
Of course
I
not.
mean,
Of
of
course not.
course.
All right, let's just do a little. Let's do a little. We have our own tissues. Okay.
Okay.
You can't talk to Gary unless you have tissues. Okay. All right, tap with me. Even though I felt responsible,
Even though I felt responsible,
I know I wasn't.
I know I
I
wasn't.
was only 2.
I was only 2.
What kind of resources could I have at age 2?
What kind of resources? What could I have at age 2?
And I've been carrying this around all this time.
And I've been carrying this burden around all this time.
This illogical, fictitional guilt.
Illogical, fictional guilt.
I deeply and completely accept myself.
I deeply and completely accept myself.
Lord help me.
Lord help me. Responsible for the whole world.
All right, keep going.
Yeah, I was responsible. I caused everything. I had that kind of power at 2,
Mm-hmm.
It's all my fault. It's all my fault. I did it. It's all my fault. Happens at the time too. I mean, everything that happened was because of me. I made it happen. It was because of me.
Okay.
Yeah, it's because of me.
All right, say this for me. Say this for me. And again, tune into how it feels, okay? It's not safe to love.
It's not safe to love. Wow, it's still up there. Maybe moved to half a point. Still
Okay.
feels
Okay. All right.
up there.
But
Yeah.
that's a clue. Now, and I'm going to leave other things. I'm going to give you more doors to go in. But the responsibility door, I doubt if we collapse that just on that one little round. We probably did something worthwhile with it. But you want to get into, why you were responsible. Get into your 2-year-old thing and put together all the illogical things. What you may have done sometime during that day or your life or whatever. However it was that you thought you were responsible. Tap on each little piece of that, each little aspect of that. Make it up if you have to. You're only 2, okay? But make up. What could I have been thinking then, okay? And make it up and be very thorough on that one. And then, look at Mother's face again, and see what else may come up. We talked earlier about maybe sadness, then we got into the guilt thing, but there's all kinds of things that could have come up. So you want to get down and deep in there. Maybe you even want to go to other events in your life after the choking event, where your father's response or your mother's response was telling you it's not safe to love.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Other things, I'm sure it wasn't that just one incident. They must have
Right.
argued and fought and whatever.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And all those things could also give you guilt, if you will. You're responsible for this, however illogical that may be. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so then you have all these doors. You got lots more doors. They're just deeper doors than you went into before. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Well, do you have any questions for me that were maybe orientation would be more complete?
Do you think or feel that innately we have all these qualities and they aren't gone from us? They just are buried beneath trauma, and to clear that out, that I can get these parts of myself back?
Yeah, that is my very firm belief.
Oh, okay. Okay. Okay.
It's also my spiritual belief. We didn't talk about that, but I don't want to push my spiritual stuff on other people. But the general place I come from is that our birthright is basically joy. And we've covered it over with all kinds of other stuff, okay? And so it's there. We need only take take the barriers away, and it will bubble up to the top. And one of your clues as to how thoroughly you're getting this job done is how much of that joy, that sense of love, that sense of peace, that sense of contentment, and so on, begins to show up. Right now, you've buried it. Probably guilt is one of the big ones. It's the one thing people tend not to want to do therapy with. They'll do therapy with some fear or some trauma because that's the outside world doing something to me. But guilt, that's an inside job, and that's a little too close to home. We'll put that on the table and deal with it some other day. Okay. But I would hone in on that. No, you don't necessarily have to believe what I just said, but you asked me if I believed it, and that is what I believe. The joy, etc., is within you. Do you have a spiritual leaning of your own?
It's kind of wide open right now. I mean, I just, I don't have any particular leanings.
Okay.
I mean, it's just, it's trying to find a path, trying to find something that makes sense.
Well, you may find as you take care of these barriers with EFT at a deeper level than you've done before. And by the way, you need to get out of some very specific things. When you, I'm backtracking a little bit, but when you're looking at your mother's face, you might want to just even get specific about the way she's holding her mouth. Look at her eyes and see maybe fear in them, or really get specific with it. Okay, the more specific you get, the better. But then to go on here, you may find this to be a spiritual path for you. It's not necessarily a big theology, but as you remove these barriers to love's presence, and you then have more ability to love, like you can love your dogs, you can then start loving people more like that and more like that. That becomes a big piece of evidence to you about the spiritual love. It has to be my belief, okay, that is within us all. Okay, all right. So anyway, I don't mean to pontificate. That's just sort of my thing. Okay.
I just want to say thank you because it helped me to see that perhaps I just wasn't going deep enough. That the block was my own, and that I maybe even just have to tap on, like when you said how people just don't want to go towards guilt or certain things, that they just don't want to go there, and that probably what was blocking me. I let myself believe all those years it was just my genetic blueprint, and nothing could change it, and that's just all those parts are going to be missing, and I'll just never be able to love. And now you've helped me see that blockage is something I need to tap on, and then just go below, deeper still. Okay. So thank you.
All right.
Lynn,
thank you. This has been a delightful discussion with you. What you've done here and what you've shared is going to be very valuable to lots of people, I'm sure. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Gary.